That's Horsebath with a rollicking live version of Hard to Love, the opening track to their debut album, Another Farewell. Being a rootsy quintet from Canada, Horsebath have been compared to the band. And so we found Daniel Connolly and Etienne Beausoleil in Montreal and asked them how they felt about being compared to that legendary group.
It's quite an honor to be compared to a band that established and that talented. But I think what we share is the passion for roots and Americana and a wide variety of swing and rock and roll music, and just sharing responsibilities as singers and harmonizing with each other, changing instruments up, and having that kind of soulful groove and swing and meaningful lyrics. I think is something that we aspire to, that the band possesses in spades.
Right. All right.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I guess with the band, one of the things that made them kind of unique is they had a lot of different, lead singers for different songs, and I find that our band does that a little bit too. Yeah. The lead vocal seems to shift around a bit. We all try to sing harmonies, which the band would do as well. And yeah, experimenting with a lot of different instrumentation and some guys doubling on different instruments. And I guess especially in the studio, a lot of us would just spend time on different instruments. It didn't matter if it was the guitar player who had a guitar. If somebody had the part, then we would try to catch that part and just build it that way. So.
Gotcha. And of course, one difference is you guys all seem to write, whereas it was all about Robbie Robertson's songs with the band. So, which probably is going to work out better for you, because I think that was a problem with them. So, how does that kind of work within the band? How do you determine whose songs and who writes with who and all that? Because it seems to be a mixture of different collaborations.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's, we're all quite passionate about songwriting. And so on our own time, we're always working on either practicing our instruments or jamming with other people. And song ideas often come that way, and we bring them to each other if we feel like it could be a good vibe. We always start by jamming it. Sometimes a song is more developed, but oftentimes, in what was the case with this first record, was that we brought just little pieces of ideas together, and we'd start to arrange and work on it, and we'd have like some ideas for phrasing. Maybe someone was playing a guitar line and we're like, oh, that'd be great for a vocal melody. So someone would start singing, and a really organic process often. And we, since we've been working on songs a lot together for over 3 years or 4 years, it's a pretty fun process to hear someone's idea and feel an open environment where you can contribute and that, and we can openly talk about it. Like if someone comes up with something in the moment, maybe they think it's like they dig it a lot, and then someone's like, no, I don't know if that works. And we try not to take it too serious. It's like, or no, not serious, but take it too offensively or something. Just to enjoy it and find that pulse and that heartbeat.
Right. Yeah, because people have gotten very sensitive about their things these days, so it's probably something that you need to be aware of. And of course, the other three members of the band are all brothers, so that's got to be an interesting dynamic too. You guys being the non-mutters, is that how we pronounce it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that. How does that work for you guys?
They're always teaming up on us. We always have to fight for
yeah, for sure. We're just like trying to claw our way back.
Yeah, I mean, we might not be mutters, but sometimes we feel like we are. I mean, we all feel in some ways that we're brothers, and I feel like there's that dynamic for good and for bad sometimes within the band. Families, of course, there's unconditional love, but there's always some differences in opinions. Yeah. But as Dan was saying, I feel like the five of us all come from similar musical backgrounds, so we always share the same direction. We're always going in the same direction. Yeah. And as to how we get there, that might vary, but I think just having that common direction between the five of us, whether we're blood related or not, everyone can appreciate that, and that's the common ground that we find.
Yeah,
all right,
definitely.
All right. So I think I read that you guys formed around 2018. So that was several years back. Has the vision, the sound, the kind of what you want to accomplish with the band changed at all over those years to where you've gotten to this album finally?
Well, I think the first in 2018, that was just the time that Keist and I had originally met.
Okay.
And it was a number of years before we started to form a band. We had done a trip around Canada with some other friends of ours to film musicians on a kind of documentary research trip.
Right.
And Keist and I did that together with a friend of ours. I think that trip played a big role in the spark that it took to start writing together, and we were inspired by all kinds of different characters and people on the road that all shared the same love and of again, like roots and Americana and traditional music and old time music, rock and roll, everything. So we actually started performing shows together and writing together, I think around 2021. Just
Right.
as during the pandemic, it was we were only allowed to play with 3 people at the time, or 2 people even, and smaller sit down shows. So we started as like a trio with a violinist, Joe McMaster, who's a great violinist. And then it wasn't long after we knew we wanted to start a more rockin' band, and I met Etienne, or we met each other at a ballpark that we spent almost every day in the summer going to play pickup softball, and there'd be like an eclectic crowd of people from all over Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Japan, the States. Everyone kind of met there and in the afternoon or evening and had some beers and played ball. I kept hearing from one older guy. He said, "Dan, you got to meet this Etienne." He said, he's a master bass player. He's a master. Like he's doing his masters in jazz, but he's like, he's a master bass player. You got to meet him. And I was like, sure, I'd love to meet him, you know. And I think Etienne was hearing, oh, you got to meet Daniel. He's a songwriter from Nova Scotia. And yeah, we met. The first time we met was like a showdown. Like they put us against each other on softball teams as pitchers, fast pitch pitchers.
Oh, you're both pitchers.
So that was the kind of first time we interacted. It was like that, and then we ended up chatting afterwards. And Etienne,
here we are.
So, yeah.
Who won the pitching? It's a softball game. I got to know.
Oh, I think it was a tie. Yeah, it must have been a tie. Yeah.
He tried bunting on me. I don't know what that means, but
yeah. Well,
I think we'll stick to music.
Softball here, and I pitch as well. So there you go.
Oh, you play too?
Yeah. Well, that was the one thing. One of the things I missed the most from when I moved from upstate New York to here was playing softball. So yeah.
But there's pretty competitive fast pitch in New Zealand.
Well, I learned that the hard way because I always play slow pitch, as everybody does in the States. And so I joined a team here not knowing that they played fast pitch. So I ended up on a fast pitch team. I went through the whole season without ever hitting the ball once. You didn't even see it. So then I finally found a slow pitch league that was more suited to my
That rise ball is tricky to hit.
So yeah, it was a learning experience there, but there you go. Now back to the album. So I see it starts with a song called "Hard to Love," which you guys co-wrote with 2 of the Mutters. So tell me a little bit about why and how that kicks off the record.
Well, I've been around this old town about a couple of years. I've seen a few, they come and go, but they always leave in tears. And that's a lonely world I've come to learn, when all it loves will surely burn. But heaven knows I've had to pay the price, 'cause it's hard to love, hard to love, hard to love me.
Well, I think the idea for that song came when we decided to do a trip, the whole band, down to Nashville.
But they had played it before.
Yeah, I think like the idea or I don't know if it was the chord or the chorus. Yeah. We always thought that the chorus was catchy, but we hadn't up to that point actually sat down and and worked out a song and kind of worked out lyrics that could match the chorus. So
yeah,
I remember working on that in Nashville and it kind of coming together. And I'm happy with the way.
Yeah,
I don't know. It kept Hard to Love. There's something in those words, and we were just trying to capture that chorus with the song.
Right.
So
also the beginning of the song, we had worked on just different intros, and it feels almost like a lunar landing, like right. And we thought that'd be a kind of fun way to kick off the album, like to show the fun side. You know, there's all kinds of different shades of and vibes on the album, but that feels like a song live performance wise that captures the essence of what we like to do. You know, the groove and the swing and the fun, you know, and the harmonizing.
Very good. And I see that one of the mutters, rather not mutter, is more of a producer. Niall is his name. What is it that he does that's different than everyone else as far as in the studio when the actual tracks are being laid down?
Well, Niall, he's been kind of part of the band as a drummer, kind of in and out over the last couple of years. He has his own solo project that he focuses on, but for certain gigs he would step in. And I guess to answer your question, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, Niall is one of the Mutter brothers, but he also shares the same vision, I think, that the rest of the band does. And I guess one of the issues that we faced recording in the past or with sort of producers in the past is that they would have good input, but sometimes we were questioning if they shared kind of the same vision for the sound of the band that we did. So bringing him in the studio for drumming, but also for the producing was great because we didn't have to try to make him understand which way we're going. That was already, you know, he knew what to do and he got it. So working with him just made it so much easier for all of us. And there's a song that's not on the album called Colleen. And that one, we were in his studio and we pretty much did that in one evening. And yeah, just the speed at which he works at and just, I guess, sharing that same vision just makes it so much easier for all of us in the band.
All right. So when you are cutting tracks, do you guys work quickly? Is there a lot of chatter and discussion, or do you kind of get down to it? Is it a lot of takes, or you kind of good after one or two?
I mean, we had been in the studio multiple times before releasing anything, and we recorded full albums twice.
Right.
And the thing was we did it so early on in the process that like we had played together a month or 2 months, and then we had an opportunity to go into a studio, and we're like, okay, let's get them all done. And it was too early in the band. I mean, we still have those recordings, and some of them have a lot to them. You know, they're beautiful, but we decided to kind of put it on the back burner and focus on performing live. So we performed, you know, 100 and some shows together, and then stepped back in the studio again and recorded everything live off the floor in 2 days, 8 songs in one day, and then 4 songs in the next. We ended up releasing 6 of those songs. They're all live off the floor. We picked a take, and then we'd add, if there wasn't a horn or something there, we'd add it in. But that's our studio Linid sessions. And then to answer your question about the quickness, it depends on how often we've played the song. Like this record, we basically, aside from 3 songs, we wrote and recorded them within a month. So we would arrange and pick them, and then we'd play. We were at different stages than 3 years ago as a group, so it went together quite well. But yeah, we lay the bass track, and then everyone kind of pitches in with ideas. We'll add anything from a gong to a harpsichord to whatever's in the room. We all like try to play whatever instrument, and then we reduce it like in the mixing process, and we find what works.
Cool. And do they change much when you're out on stage playing them in front of people from what we're going to hear on the record?
Some yes, some no. I guess some of them we will kind of extend and we'll add some solos just to capture a bit more of that energy depending on the song. But I guess I guess our slower, more ballady songs are pretty much as is. I mean, we are restricted with the instrumentation that we have on stage, so we can't quite capture all the little bells and whistles that we added in the studio.
Right.
But generally speaking, I think we followed the album pretty accurately.
Yeah, I would say so. There's like a lot of extensions to songs, and you know, like we might come up with a set list, but see how the audience is reacting to certain songs and throw songs in, maybe take some out, and extend some for, you know, one song that's 4 or 5 minutes could be 10 minutes in a room full of people dancing. So you got to keep their feet moving. Yeah.
Right, keep moving. And so one track that I want to touch on was Long and Lonesome, which I think, Daniel, you wrote yourself, and it's kind of got an intensity to it that maybe you can address.
Long at sea I seem to be, the ramble is my home. From heart to heart each lover seems to crash upon the stone. I'm not the same as I once was, nor will I be again. It's a long and lonesome state I'm in.
I mean, it kind of came together from I guess it's this feeling that I think I've been having and with friends and people that I meet and discuss, this feeling of being distracted by technology, distracted by forces unknown, by forces greater than yourself in some ways, and feeling the kind of alienation that causes. And the song kind of tried to capture that. It's that loneliness you feel when you feel trapped by something, I guess, in a way, encaged by. It's something that I think that a lot of people are dealing with.
Yeah. And how are you feeling about, speaking of what a lot of people are feeling, how are you feeling about the potential of being the 51st state?
I mean, I think it seems pretty ridiculous. Yeah.
All right. And it's Long and Lonesome is followed by Train to Babylon, which has got a pretty cool bass line into it. So maybe you can touch on that one a little bit as well.
This train ain't bound for glory. Morning sun will shine anew. Good times, no good time for sorry. When you're only passing through. When the train rolls on, I'll be going home.
That's a song that kind of came together. I mean, I forget.
From the studio.
Yeah, we were in the studio and we kind of had, I think at first, like, because the song kind of has two parts. The first part was kind of one, and I forget exactly how we decided to try, or who came up with the idea to try to combine these two together. But it's got a great energy. As far as the bass line's concerned, I don't know, I guess personally when I play with them or with any project, I try to play what the music lets me play. I don't try to do too much, but I felt like this song just lent itself well to, I guess, a busier bass line in some ways and in some parts. And I think ultimately the only thing I was trying to capture and that the band was trying to capture as a whole was kind of that train feeling. You know, it just keeps pumping along. You don't want to lose that momentum. So I feel like that song is a train that just slowly speeding up. And as a bass player, I'm just trying to reflect that in my bass playing and try to keep that energy up and keep it steaming ahead.
If you enjoyed this episode of the 13th Floor's Music Talk series, please be sure to subscribe to the website or to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. There's a whole lot more to discover.